stehst neben mir, doch du wendest dich von mir ab. Blicke treffen sich, doch Worte werden nicht gesagt. Es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan. So viele Taten nicht getan. So viele Taten nicht getan. Du liegst da neben mir, doch du drehst dich auch nicht um. Blicke treffen sich, doch die Blicke bleiben stumm. Es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan. 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 Wenn der Sturm verhallt, doch innerlich da kocht die Wut. Alles ist ganz kalt, doch innerlich da kocht die Wut. Es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan. 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 So viele Taten nicht getan.
Hello, my friends. Operator Starsky here. As always, it's a big pleasure to see you guys. Big sorry about the delay, but no coffee, no party. And we've been drinking a lot of coffee these days. Those flies, where the hell do those flies come from? What died in here? I have no idea. What's the difference between a Russian soldier and a Ferrari? I don't have a Ferrari in my garage. So today we will talk about the Ukraine's victory plan that was presented to the Ukrainian Parliament yesterday by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Insanely rich man driving Hitler's car, okay, having like 10,000 castles all over the world because like he has no other business than just, roaming around the places buying the most expensive things you can imagine, according to the Russian propaganda. Ukraine's victory plan contains 5 main points. Can I hear myself? Yeah, I can hear myself. It contains 5 points, and previously we were discussing this with my colleagues from UATV, and my thought, my anticipation for this plan was that President Zelensky would probably base this plan on different inquiries or different proposals, but mostly inquiries from our partners. And I was not wrong, actually. Where do the flies come from? Betty, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm getting so distracted today, guys. I'm after like a week and a half of sickness. Oh my God. And we have so many things to talk about. So as I anticipated, there are 5 main points for this plan. Point number 1, to my surprise though, is NATO membership. So according to Volodymyr Zelensky, this must be one of the key positions of our partners, our colleagues. It must be the key chapter of this whole victory plan, NATO membership. Why is that? It's because Russia invades countries that don't belong to NATO, which is obvious, even though according to different sources, different intelligence agencies, Russia is kind of preparing for the invasion of European countries, which is anticipated around 2030, by the end of this decade. And I would not really laugh at it because nobody thought that they were gonna invade Ukraine as well. But generally, when it comes to countries like Syria, Georgia, Chechnya, Ukraine, we are talking about countries that don't belong to NATO, that are not NATO members. And as we can see, Russia doesn't hesitate invading them using military power. So NATO must work as a shield. I think everybody agrees that Ukrainian army is probably one of the most, if not the most experienced and trained and skillful army in the world, in Europe at least. So right now we have enough skills, enough knowledge of using NATO weaponry. We have a lot of knowledge and experience of using NATO protocols, NATO standards on a battlefield. Merck will be streaming tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much. And we can join NATO, which is obvious. One thing, though, as we all understand, there is a tiny problem. According to the law, according to the existing rules, a country that participates in an active conflict cannot become a NATO member. Everybody knows that. That is the reason. That is the reason why Russia invaded, basically. Russia didn't invade Ukraine because Ukraine was gonna become NATO member. Russia invaded Ukraine because it wasn't gonna become a NATO member. Everybody knows that. 2014 until 2022, physically, logically, Ukraine could not become NATO member. It's an obvious fact. And in 2020, 2021 and early 2022, Ukraine was as close to becoming a NATO member as in 2008. Unfortunately for everybody. So first point is NATO membership. I think it's clear. Second is strengthening the defense, which means strengthening Ukrainian positions that we currently have at the front lines, building new positions, bringing the war back to Russia, which is a really, really interesting point, because I believe that it's time to set the Moscovia, the Kremlin on fire. It's time to drop something on them. Russia must feel what Ukrainians feel, and when the war comes to Russia, when the active combat comes to the territory of Russia, it will also cause the moral decline among the population, because currently people living in Vladivostok, they don't really give a damn about what happens in Ukraine, because they don't feel that. And they don't feel that because of sanctions. They don't like sanctions, come on. The reason people in Russia don't really feel sanctions is because we don't sanction shit like vodka, lapti, balalaika, and stuff like that. We sanction different micro schemes, different parts used to produce weapons. That is sanctioned. Oil, gas is sanctioned, but she, lapti, balalaika, matryoshka, Shapka, Ushanka, Babushka, no, those are not sanctioned, and people in Russia don't really feel any discomfort about it. Maybe some internal discomfort, though. However, I think they cope with it easily. So the moral decline among the Russian population is extremely, extremely important, as well as raising dissatisfaction with the ruling regime, because according, for example, to my bro Sanction Divan, approximately 30% of Russians don't support the war. 30% is not a lot, unfortunately, and like, I don't know, sometimes I ask myself whether people like Sanctioned Ivan feel betrayed by their co-patriots, by their citizens. I really would. I had the same feeling when in Ukraine in 2010 Yanukovych became a president, even though there was massive forging of elections, but a lot of us felt betrayed, and unfortunately Ukrainians learned the hard way. So another thing, improving air defense, which is again crucial. We need to have enough air defense to make sure that Russians cannot strike Ukrainian targets effectively, and their strikes on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure is not effective at all. Is it possible? Apparently it is, because we already showed that even with existing air defense, which is completely not enough because Ukraine is extremely huge country, second biggest country in Europe, and we have this friendly rivalry with France regarding the territory, because there's French Guyana, and with it, France would be the bigger one, but without it, Ukraine is bigger. So anyways, it's huge. It's extremely big. That is why, for example, when you hear the news about Russians taking like village after village after village every single day, in terms of territory, that is literally... There is nothing. According to the raw estimates, Russians lost approximately 1 soldier per 2.5 square meters in Ukraine, which is not enough, though. Air defense is crucial. So this second point also involves using combined air defense of other countries, of NATO members, Poland, Hungary, etc., etc. So those must be included into the combined air defense of Ukraine. Why it's important to use those systems? They can provide coverage of the skies, coverage against the air missiles targeting Western Ukraine. Western Ukraine is extremely, extremely important because this is the main logistical hub of all the humanitarian, all the military aid coming to Ukraine from our partners. And this is why it's really, really important to protect those territories as well. And our partners can help us with that. They can do enough to shoot down Russian missiles. Something that we really, really like to see in the future. Unfortunately, NATO hesitates shooting down Russian missiles for no apparent reason. I don't know. I've heard the other day that it's literally because Putin managed to scare the hell out of Americans using his nuclear threats, etc., etc. However, everybody understands that Putin invaded Ukraine not because he wants to die. Putin invaded Ukraine because he really, really wants to live in good conditions and with glory, etc., etc. But it's not because he wants to die. Russians like to play, those crazy idiots who will just, throw nukes at European cities, which they will not do because, first of all, they don't want to kill their own kids who live and study there. And second of all, they don't do that because they want to die. They want to live. Everybody wants to live, and Russians want to live too. They can live in worse conditions than today because they got used to this. This is their normal way of living. That's why shooting down Russian missiles flying at Ukrainian cities, targeting Ukrainian civilian infrastructure is I cannot see anything wrong with that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Another thing that includes that is included in the second point of this victory plan for Ukraine is improving production of Ukrainian long-range weapons. And currently, we came to this point when we can produce our own long-range weapons, Neptune missiles, modified Neptune missiles that can strike land-based targets, things like that. And they can fly at a pretty long range. We can do even better. We can produce even much better missiles if we have such opportunity, enough resources, enough support. So we can build them, and we don't have to get them from other countries. Also, lifting restrictions on using long-range weapons against Russian targets, and this is about the Western long-range weapons, such as ATACMS, such as Storm Shadow missiles, and other missiles that can target Russian military air bases hosting Russian strategic aviation. Again, this is extremely, extremely crucial in order to help Ukraine establish air superiority. Because if Russians cannot base their strategic and tactical aviation in those air bases, then they will suck in terms of air domination. Another thing is intelligence cooperation. This one, again, is really, really important. Intelligence cooperation and sharing satellite data between the partners, between the allies. So if we have real-time access to all kinds of intel, if we have real-time access to the satellites, then we will be able to target specific Russian military objects, as well as predict the Russian movements, predict the next vector of Russian attack based on concentration of their personnel and vehicles. We can do a lot of stuff with satellite intelligence if done in the real time. This is the second point of this plan, and this one is pretty much, I would say, big. What's with your language, bro? Detailed, that's the word. Third point is, according to the president, is kind of secret. It's a secret point. It's about deterrence. So, speaking of the third point of the victory plan, which will be introduced or already is introduced to our partners, President spoke of a comprehensive non-nuclear deterrence package on the territory of Ukraine that can be used in case of like continuing or upcoming Russian invasions. It can be used to stop Russian troops in a non-nuclear way. What exactly will be included in this package, I cannot tell you. Only bigger people, generals, and key decision makers will know about that. So the president stated that it's really important to have it on the territory of Ukraine in case Russia wants to conduct a second strike or like future attacks. It's really, really important to have it and use it in case of emergency. I believe that this will include maybe long-range missiles, maybe drones, maybe things like that. Some specific weaponry that can be used to strike Russian forces as soon as they cross the border. No idea. So third point is deterrence. Fourth point is economic cooperation, which is improving economic power of Ukraine. And in this fourth point, the president made some really, really interesting point. He talked about the return of investment, because currently what Russian propaganda uses is that Russia is trying to turn Ukraine into this bottomless pit where tax money disappear, right? So the fact is, president and our government and all the decision makers, they think about return of investment. They think on how to improve the Ukrainian economy so everybody who supports Ukraine can benefit from the return of investment, which, guys, it's not that hard or impossible as it may seem, because, first of all, Ukraine is extremely rich country in terms of crops, in terms of grain. For example, do you know why Lebanon doesn't support Russian invasion? Lebanon. Even though Lebanon is known for Hezbollah and everything else, and they are like Russia's closest friends in terms of weapons smuggling and shit, but do you want to know the reason why they don't support Russian invasion? It's really easy. It's because I believe 80% of bread that is sold in Lebanese grocery stores comes from Ukraine. And Ukraine provides food for gazillion different countries that rely on Ukraine. The reason why we have problems these years is because Ukraine is unable to provide the world with food, with grain, with everything else, because Russia is striking Odessa, Russia is targeting the merchant ships and things like that. Besides that, Ukraine is extremely rich in different metals. We have uranium, which means that we can build all kinds of devices, and we have lithium. Again, it's not a secret to anybody. So we can trade in case there are investment into developing Ukrainian industry, let alone IT sector that Ukraine is known for, like worldwide. It can result in extremely beneficial results to all the European nations and the United States as well. So economic power of Ukraine is included in the fourth point of this plan, and also this point includes strengthening sanctions against Russia. Not only strengthening sanctions, but also making sure that Russian schemes used, to evade those sanctions and bring different materials and weapons and weapon components, they will not work. So we will need more security agencies and other organizations working in this direction to make sure that Russians cannot evade sanctions, which is again extremely important. First of all, Europe is responsible for, I believe, like $2 billion or euro. I cannot tell you the period of time. I believe it was like annually, that are paid to Russia for things like oil and gas, because Europe buys Russian oil and gas and pays Russians money through other companies, through proxy companies, and Russians can then build tanks, and also Russians can train their personnel, their spies and sabotage groups that are then sent to Europe that buys Russian oil and gas, and conduct terrorist activities, terrorist attacks on the countries that buy their oil and gas. So this is again something we should talk about, and we should make sure that it never happens in the future. We gotta have stronger security, I believe. And another point was to involve Ukrainian armed forces in collective security operations around Europe. President talked about it specifically, referring to Ukrainian armed forces that are again extremely skillful, that have insane experience in fighting orcs, in fighting active defense war. That is the thing. And of course, we also have quite good, I would say, experience in maneuvering war, because if we take, for example, Kursk, why situation in Kursk is so different from situation in the rest of Ukraine? Why it was like that like 2 months ago? It's because Russians are extremely skilled, okay, in terms of position war. In case they have a static front line, we have another air alert in Ukraine. In case there is a static front line, they know how to concentrate enough personnel, deliver it to the positions, throw them into a meat grinder, and after sacrificing several thousand men, they can take the position. So they know how to do that. guys, Russian tactics, strategy, saving personnel, all this shit sucks balls. They don't care about that. They care about bringing manpower and throwing it at the positions and burying everybody under the pile of the Russian bodies. So this is how they work. There is absolutely no glory. There is absolutely nothing to admire in Russian tactics, in Russian I don't know, Russian attacks, Russian military planning, which again sucks balls because it's old, it's outdated. But this is how they fought in the times of the World War II, when they would bring gazillion men and kill them just in order to take one position and then present it to their citizens as glorious victory of the Russian army. They suck. I completely despise this shit. I don't respect it. They didn't do anything to respect them for, like, seriously. So this is not the way we fight, again, because we don't have never-ending manpower in Ukraine. And of course, Ukrainians learned NATO standards because we want to join NATO one time. And NATO standards is not about, I don't know, being a cosmic army of like space rangers, which, by the way, not bad, of course, but it's not about being like, you know, those spatial ninjas that, operate starships. NATO standards are literally about cooperation. If somebody asks you, like, what is the NATO standards? It's literally a bunch of procedures and protocol that allow different armies from different countries cooperate together. That's all. As easy as that. That is why we were studying and learning that. This is why we're training our troops for my God, 2016, for almost 8 years, maybe even more. So those things were implemented in my brigade, for example. As long as I remember myself, we used NATO structure of battalions and hybrid structure in the command of the brigade. Why was it like that? It's because when military prosecutor comes to your brigade in case you did something wrong, they will not care about NATO standards. They will care about the field the law, right? The military doctrine, existing military doctrine, that is your law. And if you're sued, you will be sued according to the law, not according to the NATO standards. This is why we had that. And this is how it was and is in Ukraine, because Ukraine is still not a NATO member. So President talked about this fifth point, referring to the Ukrainian army as like extremely skillful, extremely trained, and ready to participate in the security operations around Europe. What does it mean? It means being stationed at the military bases together with our colleagues from other countries, with our American allies and other allies. So we have to be stationed all around the world, and I think it's a proper thing to do, because this is one of the ways you can ensure the international security, the collective security. That's the word. So those are 5 key things. To me, seems like legit plan. I don't know what to criticize here yet. I believe that all those things can help. One thing I would include specifically as a 6th point is, because you know me, I would include strengthening the countering of the Russian bullshit. Because when Russia spends billions of dollars producing all kinds of crazy crap to brainwash people, then eventually I would even make this point number one, actually, because eventually this leads to crazy processes like people who want to exit NATO because, oh my God, Andrew, what happened? Oh my God. God, we'll talk about it, bro. We must protect people's brain. We must protect people's sanity from the Russian brainwashing. That is the thing. Again, because we don't want Russians to learn the hard way. We don't want to. We do want Russians to learn the hard way. We don't want Europeans and Americans to learn the hard way that every choice you make brings consequence. This is, again, something extremely important because people are extremely reckless these days. They don't understand the weight of the consequence. We went through this in like 2010 when we elected Yanukovych. That was the biggest mistake that eventually led to what we knew as a revolution of dignity. But we evolved due to this. And people keep evolving. People who didn't care about the Russian invasion of Donbass, for example, back in the days, they started caring again when Russian missiles hit their houses. So this is a process. Evolution doesn't stop. But unfortunately, evolution sometimes happens through destructive and horrifying ways. So we must protect citizens, we must inform them better. And this means that we should spend on countering Russian propaganda at least as much as Russians are spending on producing their disinformation for the Western society, which means that at least several billion euro must be spent annually in order to protect people from the Russian disinformation. At this very point, this is not so. And if it keeps being like that, eventually we will see a lot of interesting processes. We will see far left and far right parties rising all over the world. We will see dissolution or destruction of such alliances as NATO, of European Union. Then we will see a lot of fucking bloodshed on the street. And then we will see a bunch of people who will, in the end of that, who will gather, together, and they will think, oh shit, we could have avoided that. That is something that I unfortunately see happening, my friends, and it hurts me when I think about it, but unfortunately I see it coming. That is why if this will not be included as point number one, and if nothing will be done about it, unfortunately for the Western society, we will see a lot of crazy things happening. So please let me know what you think about this plan. What can be included? What is advantages and downsides? I will still, because again, I don't have additional details. I only have what the president said and also several commentaries. We cannot talk in depth about it, and I think we won't, because this plan in details is only available to key decision makers. There are also several updates that I would like to talk about. One of them is North Korea entering the war. So how possible is this? What to expect? Is it true? Again, several days ago, President Zelensky had a meeting with his general staff, and he was presented with the intelligence from North Korea that shows that there is this agreement. And by the way, recently there was this global overwhelming cooperation agreement signed between Russia and North Korea. So they have an agreement that states that North Koreans will send a personnel to Ukraine. What kind of personnel, what numbers are we talking about? So it's approximately 10,000 people that will be used in order to create fortifications, so all kinds of engineer work. They will be used to manage and store things like artillery shells in the munition storages. And of course, I believe that North Korean special forces, no matter how funny it sounds, will also be involved on the front line, specifically in combat, because they need to acquire necessary experience and deliver this experience to the rest of their troops. Because North Korean special forces are the most combat worthy in North Korea, just like it was in Russia, which makes them basically the only combat worthy forces in the armed forces of North Korea, like it was in Russia. There's also a case when I believe 20 North Korean military were eliminated in Ukraine by a successful HIMARS strike, I believe. This is what we know. What do our partners say about it? So, according to the chief of NATO, Mr. Rutte, there are no evidence that North Koreans are participating in the war against Ukraine yet. Of course, we are not talking about North Korean ballistic missiles, millions of North Korean shells, artillery shells used by Russian artillery units. So I believe that we should keep our eye on the updates from the Ukrainian intelligence and our partners, and we will learn more about it. What is 10,000 men in terms of this war? 10,000 men is 1/3 of Russia is capable of mobilize in Russia. It's and I'm talking about monthly estimates. Approximately 35,000 men is what Russia is capable of mobilize right now on a monthly basis, and throw those people into a meat grinder. So on a larger scale, I don't think it's a game changer, but again, everything is important when we talk about Ukraine, because Ukrainians don't build soldiers out of Lego. We don't print them on 3D printers. There are living human beings who unfortunately also can die on the battlefield. And unfortunately, at times they do. That's why we don't have such human resources as Russians. But the very fact that Russians are hiring those people, that they're recruiting men in places like North Korea, Nepal, Venezuela, Africa, means that they also face troubles. They face troubles with the personnel. I would not go as far as Venezuela, like trying to find mercenaries, But this is what we see, and this tells us that they also have a crisis. If Putin proclaims the global all-Russian mobilization, will people agree? Will they agree to join the army, to get mobilized? Will they, Ivan Hashina, hello, my dear friend, will they agree? I believe that partially they will, of course, because even though they like to run away from the country when there's a mobilization, and I only respect and welcome that, but on the other hand, there's approximately 70% of Russians who unfortunately support Putin, otherwise known as Huilo, and his geopolitical ambitions. They're completely brainwashed people, and we will see them joining the army and dying in Ukraine and killing everybody else. So to me, it's not even a question. In case of global mobilization, I believe that Russians will be able to mobilize quite an impressive army. But what about their citizens? What about the population? Will there be any uprisings? Will there be any dissatisfaction with the with this decision? Yes, apparently there will be something like that, but we will not see anything serious. For a very, very simple reason. Russians built extremely sophisticated, let's say, secret services that filter everything, that find people, they hunt people like that, okay? That is why if you decide to do something, right, against the government, against the ruling Russian regime, they will find you. Even before you do something, they are trained for that. They have a specific repressive secret service that is designed to find and eliminate people and neutralize people who have this decision, who even have a thought of doing something against the ruling Russian regime. That is why it's extremely, extremely hard, and it was like that since the Tsarist times. So they do that for more than a century, and they're very, very successful and effective with it. That is why Russians are extremely scared when it comes to openly even talk about things that, otherwise don't correlate with Kremlin's agenda in Russia. So unfortunately, we will not see any serious protests against it. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is, as you probably know, recently I was recruited by the UATV as an observer or on this beautiful channel. I know a lot of people from this channel, and with some of them we worked together at a different channel in 2011, as it turned out, actually. So guys, I believe that we will see each other more often there, okay, on that platform. Please make sure to subscribe. It's UATV English. Search for it, UATV English, on YouTube, and make sure to subscribe. Hopefully I will be present more often instead of doing monthly episodes, weekly episodes. Hopefully I will be there a bit more often, and hopefully I will also do some activities here where I am on behalf of this channel, because those guys are great. Another update is less optimistic though, my friends. So 2 days ago we lost a friend, and this is Alexander. Alexander was a company commander in my brigade. Call sign tourist. Last year we were together not far from the Chasiv Yar, Bakhmut direction. And we did interview with Alexander together with Max. And you can actually see this interview here on the Max's channel, the flashback. Please make sure to check it out. It's an interview with Alexander, aka Tourist. So people like that, unfortunately, also die. We lose guys of higher ranks as well. Alexander was a company commander. He participated in numerous combats since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and unfortunately, he was lost. Please check out this interview, and let me copy this in the chat just in case, because it's worth it. We should talk about all of the guys we're losing, because the memory of them must live on. The memory must always remain. He had a small daughter that now remains without father. I considered Alexander our good friend and a true hero of Ukraine and the democratic world. I hope that the memory about him and his guys will live on. Did I cover all the updates? I believe I did. Guys, I will answer some of the questions. And another thing, we are starting a merch store. That is why if you want to support my channel through merch, like receive something in return, soon it will become possible. Miroslav Burtovy is helping me with establishing my merch store, as well, by the way, as Ellie. And by the way, big thanks to Ellie for this help with the design. And by the way, my dear friends, please wish Ellie good health and all the best, because she has not the easiest times right now. And I hope that if we all will send her, rays of positive wishes and positive energy, I think that it will help her to recover faster. Okay, what do we have here? What will be the favorite food of North Koreans? Soil will be their favorite food, I believe. North Koreans are sickly, not sure how useful they can be. Literally as a manpower. Men can do all kinds of primitive stuff, and basically die. That is why Russians consider them useful. What is your opinion on Ukraine to retaliate by creating nuclear weapons? Yeah, so recently there was this message in the media that some unknown Ukrainian guy said that we can create new nuclear weapons in Ukraine, again, because we have technologies, experience, knowledge, etc., and resources, which is more important. We can create nuclear weapons to use as a deterrence factor against Russians. So how possible is that? Physically, it's possible. Technically, it's also possible. Politically, I don't think so. Because Ukraine signed the Budapest Memorandum, and Ukraine is fucking only country that complied, that followed the Budapest Memorandum, unfortunately. So I don't know. Like, technically it's possible, of course. Pokrovsk needs to be well defended, what is being done there. Let's put it this way. There are defense lines. The quality does not meet my personal expectations. Russians learned one thing. Russians learned that they should dig in, using all kinds of resources and methods. As soon as you capture territory, you should dig in. We also learned about it, but not all. Okay, if we're talking about my brigade, for example, we were trained to dig in. I remember before the full-scale invasion, we would switch some different unit in the Donbass, for example, and we would realize that the trenches are like balls deep, balls tall, balls high. Well, they were not deep enough. So, and they were not prepared enough. And my brigade was trained really, really, really well to create fortifications, to dig trenches. And we did that. Not everybody is like that, unfortunately. And in a lot of cases, this decision also doesn't depend much on a unit, because unit needs resources, and resources can be obtained from, for example, local suppliers. So there are problems, and fortifications are a problem. I literally don't know why it is like that, because in my experience and in my knowledge, this is something extremely, extremely crucial, especially when we're talking about the active defense. This is something extremely crucial. But personally, I was, I don't know, disappointed, shocked. Every single time we would switch with somebody. Starsky, when are you coming to the Netherlands? Welcome, be my guest. Thank you so much. Not in the nearest weeks, unfortunately, because we have quite a lot of things to do here. But I will. Why did Ukraine use this potential so little before 2022? No offense. There can be no offenses, and I will tell you exactly why. So, first of all, we underestimated Russia. Everybody did. Okay. We thought more about our own pocket than about the global economic partnership and the global security. We made a lot of other mistakes, but even though it was like that before 2022, Ukraine still was known for, I believe, one of the biggest producers of sunflower oil and products like that. If you're buying sunflower oil in your store, there is like very, very high percentage of those oils that come from Ukraine. There is a big chance that you will buy Ukrainian sunflower oil in your store wherever you are in the world. There is again crops, grain. Again, unfortunately, I believe it's because of the globalization, but Ukrainian crops were mostly sold in like African countries. So everything that is south of like Spain, I would say, south of Spain and south of Turkey. That territory, that huge territory, it was supplied with Ukrainian grain. So it's not like we didn't do anything, but we didn't do enough. And we also had extremely, extremely bad marketing. Bad marketing, I'm talking about the marketing of Ukraine in general. Why it's important is because there are such things as like national identity and national idea. You can create an extremely attractive product out of it, okay? For example, when you go to Germany, you know exactly that you will have the best beer in the world. I didn't try Austrian, but for example, when you go to the US, you will find the biggest portions in the Burger King and McDonald's comparing to other countries. You can create, like I'm explaining very primitively, but there is something like national image, something that is attractive to other nationalities. We didn't care much about the national image of Ukraine. There were attempts. I remember there were so many volunteers, Ukrainian volunteers, working on improving Ukrainian image. We created like everything from graphics in the Kyiv subway to logos of cities and insane amount of other things. But it wasn't enough because as it usually happens in Ukraine, the initiative comes from people. Right? And then people on top, they think, oh, well, yeah, this can be beneficial. Maybe we should also, do that, or let other people do that. That was one of the biggest problems that I will always criticize everybody for in Ukraine, because we didn't care much about it. What did you know about Ukraine in 2022? Did you know that we have all kinds of terrain? We have sea, shores, rivers, desert, mountains, fields like steppes, forests. We have rocks. Did you know that Ukraine has 50 types of borscht, several types of borscht specific for a specific region? Did you know that Ukrainians have like one of the biggest amount of existing folklore songs and stories that come from like ancient times, like comparing to our neighbors? We have like enormous number of things that we can share and present to everybody else, to tourists, to make Ukraine more attractive. But, we have a saying, it's too late to drink borjomi when you lost your kidneys. And this is the case for Ukraine. It's too late to think about it because we are already in deep shit with this Russian invasion. I wonder, Bobo, women, yeah, we have women. I checked. Sometimes I would doubt though, because, when you're on a deployment and you're like, women, what are women? Like, how do they look like? I forgot. And then you return home and you're like, oh, yeah, we have them. We have them. We have men too, and women. We have both. I also have a fly in my freaking cup. Like, seriously. Like, look at this shit. Can you see it? Yeah. It's right there. Tastes good. Uh, Borscht, poor man's kimchi. I would not compare it to kimchi actually, because borscht is something that has four tastes. It tastes one way when it's hot. It tastes the other way when you add sour cream to it. It tastes absolutely differently when it's in the fridge and when it's cold, and then it tastes differently when you add sour cream to the cold borscht. So it has four different tastes. Same dish, but it has four different tastes. And also there are multiple types of borscht. The other day we went to the Polish restaurant in order to find proper borscht, and I love Polish people, but in this very restaurant they gave us literally like red water with the taste of borscht, which was not bad. It was very tasty stuff. But at the same time, it's not Ukrainian borscht. Ukrainian borscht is basically like full of ingredients. You take like full spoon and there's like a bunch of cabbage, potato, beans. I don't like beans. Meat, of course. And then some borscht. What about the other fly that went in your... I think it drowned. Fly in coffee, extra meat. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm usually saying. I'm not disgusted easily. When I was younger, I would catch and eat ants just to impress my friends. But then I bought myself an ant colony, and I had a formicarium with ants. And since that time, I could not eat them because I consider them pets. And they are extremely, extremely cool. They were. What is the best pizza you ever had? Oh my God, my friend, this is Italian pizza, literally. So my lady, she laughs at me because she also tried it, okay? And we eat pizza a lot, for example, even here. The one that we buy in the grocery store as well as like in the restaurant, etc. But the proper pizza is the one you can only find in Italy, and it contains mozzarella. It contains a lot of it, and it's a proper mozzarella. My lady laughs at me. She says that the best pizza you can find is in Iran. Like I don't understand this. And the way she explained it to me was that in Iran, they have like everything on this pizza. They have like ketchup. They have, like putting ketchup on pizza. This is insane. I hope Italians don't hear this. But like ketchup, like all the ingredients, and then you eat it, and then you feel like you're in heaven. I don't believe it. And generally speaking, I cannot go there and check. So I will just trust her word. Did I miss No, my friend, you didn't miss me eating a fly. I prefer using it as as a supplement for the coffee, as not as a food, but not as a snack, but as an additive, right? I don't eat flies. Flies suck. Is fly better than hedgehog? Fly is better than hedgehog because fly will not give you reactive diarrhea that you can die from. Okay, how do I close this? Don't eat flies generally. Flies suck. Oh my god, oh my god. Where was this comment? Elvin Archer, yeah, I meant the other comment, but it's so good to see you. I hate Italian pizza. It's like thin, hard bread with some tomato good on it. Swedish pizza is the best. You've been to the wrong places, my friend, because Italian pizza, like literally, when I arrived at the bus station, I went to this cafeteria at the bus station, you know, as soon as I jumped out of the Flixbus. And I went to the cafeteria. It opened at 6 a.m. And in the oh my god, I'm drooling. In the fridge, they had like margarita, right? And I bought the margarita from the fridge, and I ate it. It was fantastic. It was better than in like any local restaurant. However, you know, one nice pizza that I like here is like kebab pizza, doner pizza. It's literally extremely hot pizza that I can buy here locally. Extremely hot, extremely spicy pizza with beef and Zwiebeln, onions, a lot of onions. It's just so good. It's just the best. What was the fastest you drove on the German autobahn yet? I believe something like 160 could be driving, but I never speed on the autobahn. You know, we have hedgehog flavor crisps chips in Cardiff. That is good to know. That is good to know, my friend, that you're eating at least something in Cardiff and not starving, right? And you don't have to do prostitution to survive. Because, you know, when you listen to the Russian media, that is just mind-blowing. You know, liked your appearance on Ivan's podcast. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Of course, it was like, according to Ivan, it was the worst podcast ever, but at least it was fun. And generally, we talked about a lot of things that I don't usually talk, because Ivan has this gift of asking proper questions. You know, that is something that I'm trying to do every time I have guests on my channel. And you always try to ask them something interesting, something people that you have on your podcast would like to answer, you know, because like when you invite some soldier, for example, or some expert, you generally they are tired of answering the same and questions over and over again. What was your first feeling in combat? Even though it's interesting, but yeah. But when you ask them, what was the craziest stuff you ate, you know, on your deployment? And they go, sushi, because it was my craziest stuff I ate on my deployment. Literally, Svetlodarsk, 2017. I'm sitting there at the position, smoking and looking into the darkness, right? And then it goes bim bim SMS, and I'm reading SMS. Sushi 24, we will deliver sushi anywhere. I'm like, okay. So I go into the chat on their website, and I go, can you deliver sushi to our position? They're like, where? I'm like, Svetlodarsk. You just go past the checkpoint and several kilometers more, and then turn right, and then like you will see me. They're like, no way. So it happened, but sushi, pizza. I would often receive SMS on a deployment and I would be drooling all day. Because the tastiest thing we had there was like bread with butter and cheese. I remember later, 2019 or 2020, during a different deployment, our battalion commander, he had a son, and his son had a birthday. And we were sitting there with the officers, and he was like, guys, I will bring you sushi because like the table is on me, okay? My son has a birthday. We were like, sushi? No shit. He's like, yeah, I'll just go to Bakhmut and back and bring you sushi. We were like, okay. And we were so happy because we were going to have sushi that night, you know, and we were expecting it. And he literally brought like 2 rolls for like 4 people. And we were like, well, I didn't say what the fuck because, you know, I'm a lower rank, but our deputy commander was like, what the fuck is that? You're like, sushi. Sushi, you have to have a lot of sushi, okay? Sushi like people. Good sushi must be big, in my opinion. Can you survive in Ukraine as a vegetarian? I have a vegetarian friend. Last year, Max had an interview. Max brought journalists to the position, and as always, as it usually happens, there's a guy who can talk, right? And he brought journalists, and journalists want to interview the guy. And coolest thing about him is that his calls, was it his call sign? No, I think it was his last name. His last name was King. King in Ukrainian is horse. And horse, soldier horse, was also a vegan. And do you know exactly how journalists learned that he was a vegan? How do you think? You will never you will never guess. So he told them that he was a vegan, okay, and he told them several times. They're like, how can you describe yourself? He's like, well, I like to be a really mainstream person. That's why I'm a vegan, you know. And then they're like asking him something else, and he's like, by the way, did I tell you that I'm a vegan? Like, I swear. And it was like 4 times. So it was kind of funny. But generally, you can be a vegan in Ukraine. I know an MMA guy, my friend, who also was a vegan, even though he was like professional MMA fighter, but he was a vegan. How does it work? I have no idea. I could not be a vegan. I cannot survive without meat at all. When my food doesn't contain meat, I feel like I love life a bit less than previously. I don't know how it works. And I've heard that you can try being vegetarian, like you can remove meat from your daily ration, and it will take some time to get used to. But guys, when you eat food, okay, let's talk globally, fundamentally, okay? When you eat food, you do this because it makes you happy, not because it prolongs your life, not because you will die without food. It's because you like it. It's because food makes us better people. It's because it makes us more calm, relaxed, or concentrated, depends on what you're eating. It because it brings people closer. It because it makes us less aggressive, more tolerant. Food is, oh my god, I gotta show this to you. Today I made this thumbnail, and one of the viewers sent this. Where the hell is that? Wait. Ah, no, it wasn't supposed to be here. Just a second, guys. You gotta love it. No, I want my computer. Yeah. So, and one of the viewers did this. Okay. Ellie sent this to me. 5 reasons food is better than sex. 5 reasons to get stuff tonight. My dear friends, my dear friend, I don't know your name, but you are freaking amazing. So, we eat food because food makes us better, because it makes us friendlier, because this is the proper way to meet people. This is the proper way to establish proper communication, etc., etc. When we, and this is just my philosophy, okay? So when we evade something, when we don't eat something that makes us happier, then generally we become worse. We become more aggressive, we become more anxious, and therefore I would eat what I like, because this is proper thing. I probably told you that, you know, in Ukraine we have mourning. When we mourn people, we gather on like 9th day, then 40th day we drink, you know, and gather in a group and mourn somebody. I would mourn my friends with like sushi, for example. I would go to the sushi place, I would watch pictures, eat sushi, and this is how I mourn my friends. This is like, it sounds extremely crazy, but this is what I do. And it helps me to cope. So being a vegetarian, I respect that, but I could never be that. I will invite you to the Hummelbude in Essen one day. You will love it. I don't know. I know the best Persian restaurant in Essen. It's called Tehran Essen. You can find it on Google, and I love this place. So if you like, you gotta check it out. You gotta get yourself kubide or change. Lubio Polo, I don't know. It's extremely good, and the beer is really, really nice. Lubio Polo. Hey Starsky, did you watch Starship Flight despite Musk being a motherfucker? And do you think Ukraine will get own space program at some point? My friend, we already had space program. We were launching spaceships from the platform in the Black Sea because it has extremely good position there, and we were launching spaceships for European Union. There was a Ukrainian-built missile that would carry satellites to the orbit, and we did that. We had astronauts. Leonid Kadeniuk was first Ukrainian astronaut in the independent Ukraine. As for Elon Musk, I didn't watch the launch of the Starship because I don't care much. Can you describe how Persian food is? Oh. Let me tell you this. So you have a plate of rice, and not just rice, but it's extremely long rice. It's soft. It's proper. It's not too soft. It's proper. It's long rice, long crops with saffron. And you have like grilled tomato. You have butter. You have, depending on what you want to order, you have, like for example, I like to order lamb grilled meat. And I don't know how it works, but it just tastes so well together. Like without grilled tomato, it would not taste like that. If tomato was not grilled but fried, for example, it would also taste differently. But in combination, it tastes just so well. So I'm dating a Persian woman. That's how it works. They have a lot of different stuff, but this is their classic stuff. Okay. Maybe have Darwin as a guest. How are we talking about the same Darwin, Mr. Charles? I think it's impossible. But was he a vegan though? Yeah. He said, Soldier Horse said that he was a vegan several times. If he said one time, there would be doubts, but he said like gazillion times that he was a vegan. So I think it's trustworthy. I think I can trust him on that. Darwin, the drone guy. Okay. Darwin, the drone guy. Guys, I will just write it down right now. Darwin, the drone guy. Okay, I'll check him out. I will have several interesting guests soon. Not only militaries, also journalists, also some interesting experts that you're subscribed to. And I will invite Darwin as well. Finnish traditional dish, mami, is similar to some Persian food. Generally food is really similar in different countries, unless you're going to places where people eat like spiders. How can you eat spiders? They're cute. They're fluffy. Dried apricots with slivered almonds drizzled with honey. If there's no meat in it, I don't know. I really don't know. The spices that Persian cooking requires might be hard to find in some places sometimes, but fortunately we have a whole Europe of Arabic stores where you can find everything. Ellie, Starsky, you crossed the line, no spider talk. Actually, I'm just kidding because I'm not a fan of spiders. The other day I was streaming for you, I remember, back in Kiev, and there was really spider crawling on my leg, and I was once buried in the pit with ants, and ants were everywhere. I told about it in the story about being a cop in Donbass. They were everywhere. And they were even in the places not a lot of people saw. But they never gave me the same creeps as like, or shivers as like spiders. I'm not afraid of spiders. Like, who are afraid of? I just don't like them. I would stay away from them. Undercover pirate. Humans are warm and moist. Yeah, I had this like rumor, right? I heard this rumor that I don't know how to confirm, is that when you sleep, actually, spiders, for some reason, attracted by your warmth, and they crawl down from the ceiling on your face, because your face usually is the only thing that is outside your blanket. And sometimes you kind of eat them without knowing that. I need to check it out, whether it's like a myth or... Sorry, Ali, that I'm talking about it. I didn't mean to. I gotta check out if it's like a myth or a fact. Yeah, Twink says, yeah, they like your warm breath. Yeah. Iris, suddenly I'm glad to be an insomniac. Oh my god. Back in like 2008 or 7, I was sitting behind the laptop doing something, and then I see like this shadow on the wall. I literally have goosebumps right now. I see like this shadow, this crawly shadow on the wall. And I'm like, oh fuck. And it's like, it's big on the wall, of course. And then I see this spider. It wasn't really huge. It was like this big, like this big. Okay. And it just crawls down, you know. So I took the only thing that I could find like quick, which was a plastic box, transparent plastic box with floppy disks. It was like back in those days. So I threw away the floppy disks and I caught the spider in it. And spider started like, you know, like running around inside a box. And then it stopped. And this is how I met Lloyd. So Lloyd was extremely nice spider. I used Lloyd to treat my arachnophobia. Actually, I would just sit there, look at him. He would make like a hammock or something like that. I'm not even sure that he was a boy though, but I have no idea. I couldn't tell, you know, what kind of spider he was. And eventually, after several days, I realized that I have to feed Lloyd. But how the hell do you feed a spider? Like, if you take a cockroach, he would probably not kill the cockroach, because cockroaches, like, they're big, like only the bigger spider can do that. So that one would not kill cockroach. Fly, maybe, but like, who knows? And there's a question. You have to like run around, like big grown up dude, like running around catching flies to feed his freaking spider, right? So in the end, I took Lloyd outside. I took him to this like trash place, and I released Lloyd. And Lloyd, I said, I will miss you. And Lloyd said, fuck you, I nearly starved to death. And he ran away. So this is how I had like a pet spider for a while, for several days. And later, I thought about getting myself like a pet tarantula. We have this website in Ukraine where you can find yourself a pet tarantula. I read everything about tarantulas. I was very, very close to buying one. But the problem was they don't do anything. Like, cool thing about having a tarantula is that it will scare the living crap out of the guests. Like, your roommates will hate you, especially if it runs away. But generally, they don't do anything. Like, they just sit there, like, and they don't even move for like months. That's why it's not really interesting. It's like as easy as buying, a toy tarantula and just look at it. So they are cool. They are extremely, extremely scary, but they're fluffy. But they just don't do anything. They just sit there and... Fuck, there's another... Get out of here. Why do all the flies want to fucking drown in my cup? So that's about tarantula. That's why I bought ants. I was so excited. I bought Messer Structor. That is the easiest type of ants because they don't require a lot of knowledge to survive, even though it wasn't my case. First colony died. But they were extremely cool because they always do something, and they're like civilization. So when I bought ants, I took like clay, and out of the clay, I created like this big nest with all kinds of rooms. There were rooms for dancing. There were rooms for storing beer. There were rooms for like, I don't know, doing all kinds of crazy shit. And like, it was a building with all kinds of rooms, and one side of it was glass. So I could see what they were doing inside. I could peek inside and see my ants. And then I bought this colony, like an ant queen and like 3 or 5 ants, and I released them into this big building, and they decided to stay in that tube. And I'm like, what the fuck? I built you a house. Why don't you want to live here? So eventually they died, and later I learned what is the opposite of claustrophobia? So ants hate, especially those ants, they hate open spaces. That's why they would prefer to stay in just a small, tiny, tiny space full of their own kind, so they would feel more protected. And they would hate, like those big nests with big caves or whatever. I did that. I didn't know. So that was the problem. Agoraphobia. Yeah, thank you so much. That is what the ants have. Me too, by the way. And so I had several colonies. They are extremely cool. If you want to find the best birthday present for your teenage kid, or maybe even like child, buy him or her like ants. And they will stay okay. Or also buy like this USB microscope that you can plug into your computer and zoom all kinds of things, and your kid will stay occupied zooming like and looking at the ants, looking at hands, looking at dick, looking at everything. Like this stuff is something that kept me occupied for like several months. And of course I was surfing internet, learning everything I could about spiders. So it was extremely, extremely cool. There's nothing cooler than like sending dick pics using USB microscope. Like the target will never know, right? What the hell was that? So that's another thing. Also, there is this type of like if you think that ants are just, advanced civilization, guys, there is this specific type of ants. We call them leaf cutters. I'm not sure how they're called in your language, but they're like leaf cutters. They collect leaves. They bring the leaves to their home, and then they grind them into like powder or like paste, and then they grow mushrooms out of those leaves, and they feed the mushrooms to their babies and to themselves. How freaking cool is? And they also make like different caves. They make specific room for storing the leaves. They make specific room for cutting the leaves. They make specific room for growing the mushrooms. It's freaking amazing. How do mushrooms grow? How do ants carry where do they find the mushrooms, on the first place? And the answer to that is the ant queen, who leaves her nest for the first and the last time to establish her own colony. She carries a piece of mushroom in her mouth to her nest, to her new place where her new colony will be. How cool is that? Ants are extremely cool. Do you have any dangerous spiders in Ukraine? To me, they're all dangerous. Like, seriously. Like, we have karakurt, I think this is how they're called. But generally not a lot. Like, the biggest danger from seeing a spider in Ukraine is that you can jump and fall down and hit your head or step on a mine, something like that. Oh my God. Oh. One time I worked at a construction and we were installing like those big roller gates, like big gates that you lift and they roll into, like big garage. They're all like huge, like 3 meter tall at least. And I had to go all the way up using a ladder and do something there. And it was like a hangar with like a warehouse. So I went all the way up and my boss told me to, clean something or whatever. There was this thick web of like old spider nets, and they were thick because there was all kinds of dust on them. Ellie will ban me right now, I swear. But it was like thick web, And in order to do something, to do what I had to stick my head in it. And I did. And it was not the coolest experience in my life. What is the most dangerous animal in Ukraine? It's me when I'm drunk, okay? Generally it's... no, actually it's not me. Actually it's my formerly best friend who was another MMA champion, and he was dangerous because you couldn't predict, because when he was drunk, he only operated in 2 modes. Mode number 1 was loving everybody, and mode number 2 was killing everybody, and you could not predict, when that and which mode will be activated. But other than that, I think we have bears, we have wolves, but generally Ukraine is not a dangerous place. My woman told me, like, in her place, you go like hiking in the mountains and then you're eaten by a fucking lion. We don't have that in Ukraine. Usually you will be safe. Usually even bears will run away from you. One time we were camping in the night with the guys in the mountains in Carpathians, Western Ukraine. And we had like small campfire because in Ukraine we have wild camping, and like you can literally go any place you like and camp there. And Everybody was sleeping, and I was sitting there smoking, watching the fire, and I wanted to make tea. So I took a pot, and just so you could imagine, I needed to go all the way down, like 100 meters in the night, in the mountains, to this road, and on the other side of the road there was a small river, and I had to crawl under the road in a tunnel. It wasn't sex tunnel, even though it was quite tight, like 1 meter, maybe a bit more. It was a drainage system, and get the water, and then make all the way back. And it was night. It was dark as fuck. So I was crawling down, and I heard something big literally running away from me. And it was huge. Like, judging from the sound it made, it was like maybe something like either a bear or like big cat, something like that, or like lynx maybe bigger. I think it was bigger than lynx. And I was there literally like, I like, fuck this. I'm not going alone anymore, but I survived. It didn't eat me. I had tea, and it was cool. I didn't even have to go pee before sleep because I already did. So it was nice. In Ukraine, you're generally safe. The only thing that you should be aware, that you should be afraid of, is like, I don't know, unfortunate drunk maniac that you can encounter, or like my drunk friend. Elks we have, but I don't think that elk would roam around the mountains in the night. Mountains, I mean, the slope was like this, and it was like full of trees and pine trees. I don't think that elks populate such areas. I believe they like more open places, or plains, like swamps, forests, but not mountains. Like, the slope was very, very steep. I have no idea how we even made, how we set up the tent. It's still a mystery to me. Yeah, but it was crazy. How about snakes? So we do have snakes. We ate them. Some of them are good. We have vipers, quite a few of them. We have copper snake, медянка. Not sure how to translate it. We have them. We tried them, by the way. They're like, when fried, they are not bad. Vipers are motherfuckers, but they generally populate swampy places, and if you don't attack first, they will not attack back. I have no idea how stupid should somebody be to attack a snake, but apparently it happens, considering that people are getting bitten. Do you have wolves? Yes, we do. And by the way, please check out my channel called Vibes Ukraine. And there is this extremely cool story about the wolves of Chernobyl. You're gonna love it. Why didn't you have water in the camp? It's easy. It's because we were stupid. Just because that, it was before I became a military. Not only we had no water, we also had absolutely no like first aid kits, medicine, because I was thirsty. I had a hangover, and I had like a black eye, like big black eye. It's a long story. What's a really good Ukrainian dish? Oh, Mike. Where do I start? Green borscht is something you should definitely try. Potato pancakes that we call deruni. You gotta try those with sour cream, of course. Are there spiders at Chernobyl asking for a friend? Yes, a lot of them, actually. Chernobyl currently turned into like natural reserve, one of the coolest natural reserves you can find out there. Because there's no civilization, like civilization left those places, and animals occupied it in big numbers. Wolves multiply like freaking like crazy. They go to other oblasts of Ukraine because nobody is threatening them. So in Chernobyl, you can find all kinds of crazy stuff. There are web cameras in Chernobyl installed, or at least they were before the Russian invasion. And they would catch everything, like elks, like lynxes, badgers. There is this crazy raccoon dog that emerged in Chernobyl out of nowhere. Nobody knows how, but it's like legit raccoon dog. Wolves, deers, people having sex, and different rare birds. And there's like a huge website with with those pictures taken by the web cameras. Like, it's insane. It's just so cool. Did you try potato pancakes in Germany? Do they have potato pancakes in Germany? Oh my god. I gotta check it out, actually. The only pancakes I tried were the pancakes in the Ukrainian restaurant, I believe in The Hague, Sonia's restaurant. I will advertise it. It's just so good. As well as Babushka's restaurant in Dortmund. Those two are legit. Cotton cuties. Cotton cuties generally populate areas where they have proper, like, Russian ration. Raccoon dog, is that a first evolution phase? No, like literally raccoon dog. They look like dogs, but they're raccoon, or vice versa. Like raccoon dog. Like everybody knows raccoon dogs. They're called Kartoffelpuffer. Oh, gotta check it out. I didn't know that. I gotta check them and compare them to what we had in Ukraine. Nuclear or only in Chernobyl, trust me. But in Chernobyl is dangerous because when you make it on the ground, that is usually radioactive, you will not only have like nuclear orgasm, but also several nuclear diseases after that. It's highly not recommended. Animals can do that, but for people it's not recommended. Imagine you bring like a tiny fragment of nuclear fuel like stuck between the butt cheeks. It sucks. Like, don't do that in Chernobyl, okay? Are there legendary creatures in Ukraine? Are there legendary forest creatures in Ukraine? In the US, we have Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Jersey Devil. I think Bigfoot and Sasquatch are the same, or not. But if you want to learn more about the legendary forest creatures in Ukraine, please check out Vibes Ukraine. That is my second channel where I made a video dedicated to the most dangerous mythical folklore creatures of Ukraine. One of them is Mavka. Mavka is like the creature you would never like to find because it looks like a beautiful woman in the woods, and she will bring you to like swamp and drown you there. Mavka, then we have Virlo Oak, one-eyed dude, cannibal, and it's like extremely atrocious. We have a lot of them. The coolest one is Chuhaister. So Chuhaister is like, and it's a very unusual monster. It's like a bearded dude who is absolutely safe. He's not dangerous to humans. He doesn't do anything like, he doesn't kill. And he likes to talk, he likes to sit next to the campfire, have a chat with the travelers, smoke a cigarette or something else, have a drink, dance, he's like that kind of monster. But at the same time, he's extremely atrocious to all the female creatures, supernatural creatures. Again, for the reasons I cannot explain, is according to the folklore, if he finds like mermaid or Mavka, for example, he would step on her and tear her apart and eat her. How freaking crazy is that? That's why he is considered as a monster by other monsters, and mostly women. I have no idea. Spartacus, what's an orgasm? How to explain this? Imagine you order sushi with the freshest salmon possible that swam just like today, okay? And my God, I lost my voice. And you also order a glass of sake, which is 10-degree rice beverage that you should consume warm. And you take like salmon nigiri with the chopsticks. You put them into soy sauce and then you eat them. And then you drink sake. And this is something that probably maybe orgasm can compare to. So, like, I tried. To tell you secrets, like, recently we started watching Sex and the City with my lady. I have no idea why, but it's kind of fun. Bearded dude, yes, True Heister. Generally, he looks like a dude with a beard, but like wearing stuff, a bit fluffier than usual. But Tom Bombadil, similar. When the hell do you get more stories, Starsky? Thank you so much. Soon. And the next one will be not I would say mysterious. It will be about a murder, and not just murder, but something that changed the course of the history in Ukraine in the early 2000s. You're gonna love it. That's a normal Gopnik. Something like that. Yeah. I never thought that I will live in the times, that I will see the times when Gopniks turned into like extinct creatures. Will you play the new Stalker game if you find time? My friend, not only I will play the game, actually, I will tell you this secret. I contacted the developers and I said that I would freaking love to see them, and if they agree, then we will have some tiny video together. I really, really hope so. Let's not talk about it yet, because I literally received a reply after a month of waiting impatiently. But if they allow me, I will go there and we will have a video. I would really like to go there because I saw a trailer, and in the trailer they were using like Fort 221. It's a licensed copy of Israeli Tavor rifle, but in Israel it's, I believe, 556, and in Ukraine it's 545 millimeter. So it's a different caliber, but generally the same rifle. And I was impressed because you don't often see that in the games. Like usually it's like Kalashnikov and AR-15, different modifications. Tavor, I'm like, whoa, that's where now we're talking, because in 2015 I used Tavor, Fort 221 Ukrainian version, and I also made a review of this rifle. So I was impressed, and my idea was to check this game from the standpoint of a veteran who basically knows all those weapons. So I really, really hope that they will text me back. Stalker is made in Ukraine? Yes, it's made in Ukraine. It's made by the Ukrainian company. The story of the Dnipropetrovsk maniacs, we will talk about it as well. We will talk about it in some upcoming episodes, but the next one will be a bit different. Is there trout in Ukraine? Do you fish? Oh, Tommy. It's such a painful topic. I tried to fish. I really did. I spent gazillion hryvnias on equipment, and I tried to fish honestly for a year. The only thing I caught was like a sunstroke, like legit sunstroke, from sitting 4 or 5 hours in the sun near the lake and without water, because I'm so smart. So it was just so bad. I never caught anything in 1 year of failed attempts. No idea why. People like to... so my friends are like, you're catching it wrong. You need to have this like feeder, okay? And you throw a feeder and you leave your stuff, your spinning, on the shore and do your shit. But what's the point? This is not how you catch fish. This is not how you participate in the process. I need to be involved. I need to throw it. I need to, to rotate and everything else. Like throwing a feeder, it's as easy as just going to a grocery store and buying yourself a fish. There's no satisfaction. And then I went with this guy on a boat. We had the same wobblers. I had a green one and he had a white one. He caught 2 pikes. I witnessed that. And I have no idea. In the end, my wobbler rested on a tree. Unfortunately, like accidentally. I left it on a tree, and I was too lazy to climb it, take it back. But after a year, and when all of my friends were laughing at me already, like they were sitting there on the shore, drinking beer, having fun, and I was like soaking balls deep in the water. And in the end, I realized that my life is literally being spent for the things that don't bring me like any satisfaction. Like it was an interesting experience, but no, not anymore. What is the thing you hate most in Germany? The fact that I still didn't learn how to speak properly. I believe that is the only reason. Just a second. Just a second. Bro, I'm streaming. Yeah. So maybe that's the thing. It's like I know how to build sentences. I just don't have enough vocabulary. That is the biggest problem. So that is the thing I hate most. Everything else is extremely fine. People are extremely cool. I learned how to love Germans. And I became a big fan of these people. People in other countries, like, you don't need to learn how to love them. Like, you go to Netherlands, you meet your friends, and that's it. You know, people. I had this offline meeting with. I cannot call you friend. I cannot call you viewers or subscribers. To me, you're friends, your family. So I had a meeting with my family that I have never seen in my life before, and you just go there and you talk to them, even if you just met, but you're best friends. Or you go to Sweden, same story. Like it's like that everywhere. But in Germany, I learned how to love Germans, and I'm a big fan of these people. It's not, it's not that you love Germans because of something. Sometimes you love them despite something. And this is the very, very true love, I believe. What is your favorite American food? Tommy, I've been to Johnny FD's last year and I tried nachos. That is something fantastic. That is just something that we should open in every Ukrainian city, some kind of nacho fast food, American/Mexican stuff, some franchise, and that will be extremely popular. Generally, you cannot find a lot of nachos or American food in Ukraine. Mexican sometimes, but generally it's not very popular. Things like sushi restaurants, things like Italian restaurants, Mediterranean places, they are extremely popular in Ukraine. Everything else, not so much. And I think it's a problem. Did you attend a full-time Sprachkurs? Not full-time. I'm learning myself. Okay, guys, I feel extremely hungry right now. Actually, I'm starving. I gotta go. And yesterday I cooked a fuckload of rice in the frying pan, and it was a proper fuckload because it was enough for like 2 days. I gotta go and finish it. And it's a proper fried rice. It's a rice that you mix with fried mushrooms, carrot, sesame seeds, beef, garlic, tomatoes, onion, of course, and chili pepper. And it's a fried rice, that the rice that I cook all the time. And I still have some in the frying pan. My friends, I will be going offline. Thank you so much for this conversation. I missed you. And we will talk tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have a Friday night. Yes, today's Thursday. Tomorrow we will have a Friday night stream with... no, it will be next week. Because this Friday I wanted to stream with some really, really cool people, but unfortunately they are either busy or in a hospital. But next week it will be cooler. So tomorrow I will invite somebody. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just sit and talk about food. Friends, see you later. Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine, and be safe.